International Conference on Arts and Humanities.
Dr. Sangeeta Ghurke. I take this opportunity to thank you, Madam, and share that this presentation and paper would not have been possible without your constant guidance and motivations. So here we are to present our paper entitled Words of Practical Wisdom Through Indian Folklore Panchatantra. I'll be using the term Panchatantra henceforth. Our paper concentrates on theories of wisdom, practical wisdom in particular, a review of Indian folklore and story analysis through 5 important perspectives: the social, cultural, managerial, psychological and spiritual. The paper ends with conclusions. I'm sure everybody here must have grown listening stories. Anybody would like to share what kind of stories you have heard in their childhood? Well, all must have learned the important lessons of life through stories like grandma tales, bedtime stories, fairy tales, folk tales, mythology, and so on. For any country, culture, and individual to progress, the cultural transmission and beliefs, thoughts occurs through upbringing or passing on these important ideas through storytelling. And that is the reason why we have chosen folklore or Panchatantra to elaborate. Our paper attempts to discuss the important principles and perspectives of understanding life through Indian Panchatantra. Well, to begin with the story of mankind, Darwin's theory of evolution shows man's development from savage to a rational being, a barbarian to a civilized. The process of development is significant as it embarks man's development of gaining wisdom. Being wise is a continuous process. To support this thought, I would like to quote from Encyclopedia Britannica Micropedia, which says, "Folktale is learning of a non-literate society. It is the sum of that society's literature, material, culture and customs transmitted in its oral traditions and diffusion of folklore." As the paper concentrates about practical wisdom, the synonyms like intelligence, prudence, education, common sense cannot be ignored. So what is wisdom? Practical wisdom is often described as the right way to do the right thing. Rules are often made to grow. It's a very common gesture used very haphazardly. With jokes apart, on a deeper sense, intelligence is to make rules and wisdom is to break them. Good examples would be answering the interview questions for a stress question round or a situational question. It is a type of, in these type of questions, nothing is right or nothing is wrong. These type of questions are just to ask to see your approach and the application of your wisdom by being witty. To elaborate, I would like to have an activity here, and I would like to ask the question. Would anybody like to volunteer? Well, I would like to ask this question to ma'am. Ma'am, could you please count 1 to 1,000 in 2 seconds, and your time starts now.
Okay, so this is the test of my practical wisdom, and I think that it is possible because there is no rule for counting, and if within 2 seconds then my time starts now, I can count like 100, 200, 300, 500, 700, 1000.
Marvelous. This answer is nothing but application of common sense or practical wisdom. To support and elaborate on the theoretical perspective of paper in length, an expert view is very much required. And the expert view of our paper can be accomplished with ma'am's view. So I now call upon my guide, Dr. Sangeeta Ghodke, who will be talking in length on our paper, the theoretical part.
Thank you, Risha. The paper is written in collaboration. Actually, I wanted her to present the full paper, but then she said that you just deal with the theory part. I don't think that I am comfortable with this theory. So, I am here to help her. She is doing her PhD on corporate communication. This is something different than her PhD topic. I would like to apply Aristotle's theory of Nicomachean ethics, where he has mentioned the term practical wisdom. The theory, the book, Ethics, was written 2330 years ago, and the theory is known as virtue of phronesis. Basically, in this theory, he wants to give some governing principles to the rulers of that time, and he has raised some questions. The first question he has raised is, why don't we always act rightly? Secondly, he has tried to find out an answer for, can goodness be taught? Thirdly, can people be educated to live virtuously? And lastly, he has raised a question, what is the best way to live? While finding answers to those questions, this theory of phronesis, virtue of phronesis, came into being. His probable answers, which he has mentioned in that book, are: the right practical action at the right time leads you to live life happily and wisely. Secondly, he has mentioned one must come across proper role models in his life. From families, he can get those role models, schools, and from communities. If you come across some good examples, if you get very good exposure in your life, definitely your life will be virtuous. Then he has also mentioned right purpose and right choice is necessary for living life happily. He has given some warnings in this book. He says, one should avoid moral weaknesses in one's personality. One has to explore unconscious aspects of ego identity. And if we get exposed to enriching experiences in life, then life would be ethical, moral, and full of happiness. Here are some quotes from his original book, Ethics. He says, in a complete life, one swallow does not make a summer, nor does one day or a short time a man blessed and happy. He further says, therefore, how we act determines our state. By doing the acts that we do in our transactions with others, we become just or unjust, brave or cowardly, good-tempered or self-indulgent, unquote. He has given the path of becoming successful morally and virtually, and the path deals with three aspects. He says that man is an adaptive human being, is an adaptive by nature. So one has to learn, one has to adapt some good characteristics to develop his own character. Then we have to pay attention to virtues, so-called virtues, the set of code and conduct given by the society, good code and conduct. And third, he has asked us to nourish goodwill within us. 20th century critic Martin Heger, existentialist critic, you all of us know very well, he has also supported Aristotle's statement. He says, phronesis is a meaningful action possessed with resolution. Here is one critic of 21st century, Mary Stefanazzi. She has also prepared very nice paper on theory of phronesis. Here are some quotes from her paper. So even in 21st century, we can't ignore Aristotle. Whatever he has stated 2000 years ago, even today, all the things are applicable to live life happily and with practical wisdom. I quote, "Practical wisdom is an ongoing process of personal development integrated into the psyche by the process of inquiry, deliberation, and right actions in everyday life experience." According to her, Aristotle's aim in writing his ethics was to provide an account of how the good person should live and how society should be structured in order to make such life possible. So all the principles he has given for good governance, and Panchatantra, the folklore of India we selected for this purpose, there are many similarities between Aristotle's theory of phronesis and the practical wisdom reflected in Panchatantra, the folklore. Now here is one quote by Raji Singh. He says, "Me and my great-great-grandfather were very good friends, though we never met." Then how is it possible when you never met your grandfather, but still both of you are very good friends? And the answer lies in the theories of 20th century new critics. First of all, I would like to refer Northrop Frye, his theory of archetypal criticism, then Carl Jung's collective unconscious, and T.S. Eliot, 20th century postmodern critic. He has also mentioned historical perception of pastness of the past and the present in his essay Tradition and Individual Talent. All these theories want to say that there is a relationship between the present action and the inherited past. Our innate thoughts, feelings, instincts and memories reside in our subconscious. It's transference from one generation to the other that gives birth to rich cultural heritage of myths and folklores. So in this way, Aristotle's theory of phronesis is very much related to, we can apply this theory to all myths and all folklores of the world. Now again I hand over the session to my co-partner, my co-author, Mrs. Nisha Nagre.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, any discussion is incomplete without a literature review. A quick glance at the folklore tradition of India will give us insight about how stories, especially the folklore, have influenced the thinking and upbringing and culture. The first one, Vikram Betal, is a collection of stories with a supernatural element of Betal, a vampire spirit, who challenges the rational thinking of the king and the reader by asking universal questions. The second story, the Jataka tales, are the philosophical tales of Buddha's enlightenment about practical wisdom under Bodhisattva and his philosophical initiation into life. All living creatures die to reborn. Good triumphs over evil. Stories like Mullah Nasruddin, Tenali Raman, Akbar Birbal are full of witty and humorous conversations. These stories are wonderful examples of answering skillfully and dealing with situation using common sense. Aesop fables are commonly known as Aesop Niti, inculcate moral values. Indian culture is highly influenced by the two great epics called Ramayana and Mahabharata. Well, Ramayana, we all know the hero Ram. He basically inculcates the principles of virtues and vice. Mahabharata, the next epic, which talks about work is worship through characters like Arjun and Krishna. So, when we talk about the literature review and going through the stories, it really makes me nostalgic because I go down the memory lane where I listen to all these stories and I've grown up. Out of them, Panchatantra is the one which I cannot forget because it's very close to my heart and very much which I like. Stories of Panchatantra are more real and something which everyone could relate, and that is why I think we have chosen this topic to talk here. Panchatantra is a narration of stories from a learned Brahmin, Vishnu Sharman, to the three dull-witted sons of King Aman Shakti of Mahiloropya. I would like to quote the keynote speaker from the morning session, Mr. Disa Nayaka, that animals cannot think, but human beings do. So animal characters in the story speak that they are giving examples of children and society how to deal and live in the given situation. We have chosen 3 stories for our discussion. Our first story, The Monkey and the Witch, could be enjoyed through watching a video. Irrespective of this, the story is about a monkey and a witch. Well, it's okay. The story is about the monkey who is by nature very much interested in meddling into others' affairs. Once when the villagers were planning to build a temple, and that time some carpenters were working around. So while they were working around, they had left the log of the wood and been for a lunch. And at that time, the monkey was very curious to know why the witch is kept in the log. So he reached the log to pull out the witch and see what happens. And he tried to pull the witch very strongly, and alas, the witch comes out. Finally, the monkey gets trapped and he dies a painful death because his body part gets caught over there. So the story teaches you not to meddle with others' business, especially when you are not sure about the areas that you have never explored.
Now, the story part is over. Let us come to the research part of the story. We have selected some of the perspectives which we would like to apply on the theory, on the story. The first view is social view of the story. In each and every society, there are some set of codes and conducts. So here also, monkey, he has violated the given sets. Actually, he is an animal being and he may not have such codes and conducts, but still again, through animals, we try to learn something through their behaviors. Or ancient people, they learn many things when they came in contact with the animal world. So the message, social message from the story is, don't be over smart. The monkey warns us or tells us. Then his peers were observing him when he was taking that witch out, and they get the message that set limits for your mischief. Regarding cultural perspective, culture of a monkey, there is a huge difference between the culture of a monkey and culture of a human being. So human beings can get the message that avoid interfering in others' business that do not concern them. And managerial perspective, monkey stands for mismanagement and he gives the message. When he loses his life, one gets the message that take calculated risk. Psychological perspective of the story, alertness of mind is very much important. Synchronization of mind and body is important for effective decision making. And spiritual aspect, which is very important to live life happily. That aspect is carpenters stand for construction and monkey here in this story stands for destruction. So if he would have listened to his inner voice, this would not have happened with him. The tragic death would not have happened with him. So this is about the first story. Let us turn to the second one.
We have only time.
And the 3 rogues cannot be missed out. The story goes like this. Once upon a time, a Brahmin was returning from a ritual of sacrifice where he received a goat and was carrying it on his shoulders. On his way back home, 3 rogues ridiculed him with an intention to get the goat. The Brahmin was tricked by telling him that it was a dog. When the Brahmin was tested for his priesthood, he immediately decided to get rid of his burden. The rogues were successful in getting the goat. And here's the explanation of the story.
We have selected 3 stories, but due to time constraint, we will restrict ourselves with the last one. This is the second one, is the last one. Again, the social perspective of the story. Indian society is caste-based and class-based society. The word Brahmin itself tells us about the structure of the society. So Brahmin caste stands for superiority, and the caste of crooks, that stands for inferiority. The cultural perspective of the story, culture of a Brahmin versus the culture of the crooks. Notions of cultural and professional superiority is very nicely reflected through this story. Then managerial perspective of the story, that the rogues have convincing ability, the crooks have convincing power. Because of that, they get accomplished in their task. The psychological perspective, the Brahmin's self-esteem was very low, and because of that, he couldn't get succeed in his life. So low self-esteem of a Brahmin and high self-esteem of the crooks is the managerial point, the psychological point of view of our story. And spiritual aspect, the Brahmin stands for knowledge, but the crooks stand for practical wisdom. So spiritually, the Brahmin is weak because he loses faith in himself. So this is what the third story we would like to skip. Now let me turn to final conclusion. Conclusion part of our story. There are few conclusions which we have drawn from the above analysis. Aristotle, Vishnu Sharman and all other folklorists support practical wisdom. Basic emotions are same in animals and in humans. Myths and folktales initiate us in living life successfully. Wisdom lies in mastering the art of living. Practical wisdom helps to tackle any situation. Practical wisdom asks us to take into consideration social conditions, cultural setup, economic status, financial position, intellectual capacities, psychological strengths, spiritual insight to live life successfully. I would like to end up our presentation with a famous quote by Angela Carter. She says, "For most of human history, literature, both fiction and poetry, has been narrated, not written, heard, not read." So fairy tales, folk tales, stories from the oral tradition are all of them the most vital connection we have with the imaginations of the ordinary men and women whose labor created our world. So this is the 8th part of our presentation, and the message is old is gold. Thank you very much.